Hello and welcome back here as we head around Sebring for the first of our pre-season events at SRL TV for season number 11 of competition. And we have got an absolutely brilliant circuit and season heading your way. Of course, as usual, we have a couple of non-point scoring events in our preseason. Anyone can get down and involved for free in these events, which means the drivers that you do see heading around the circuit tonight, you are going to see most of them in the upcoming season number 11. You are certainly not going to see all of them, however. And with that being said, Len, let's talk us through some of our confirmed drivers for the new season of competition, as we do see some returning drivers on the list, as well as some of our drivers that are stepping back into the fray as well, and some stepping in for the first time. The biggest driver to be missing from the grid, however, and the season number 11 field as it stands, is defending pro and overall driver Adam Delmont, stepping back after he's not liked the new machines as much as he did before the update. But to a driver that we do see returning out there for an evening's worth of racing tonight, at least, is Dan Mould, and it is nice to see him back out there as well. Of course, he's been dealing with some injuries that he is trying to get down onto the track as much as possible, but it is being a bit of an issue for him. We do see some big names then returning back into the upcoming season. Daniel Downing will be back for season number 11 after taking the brand new semi-pro class victory in the championship. We also see the return of Damis Titcherer, JB DeJay, some big names out there, Chris London as well, Luke Woodhouse, Kim Borkland stepping in. He came second in the championship in season 10. He's stepping in for season 11 once more. Be interesting to see what he is able to do with that. Stephen Fry back in behind the car, as is Jack Brown after a strong first season of competition. Mark Draper's back in, as well as Lucas Henschel. And some other new names stepping in for the first time into season number 11 as well. As we have a look down the field, we've got Bradley Sellers stepping in to the car as well in the number 93 machine this season. Lewis McCaig will be out there in the number 19. Matt Pierce in the 83. Peter Van Gool. Some big names stepping back, some big names stepping in as well. It is going to be a great season of competition, but as normal, we will be going around in this preseason without any of those classes sorted. They'll be coming in when obviously we head out for the actual season of competition. With that being said then, let's have a look at the upcoming calendar for season number 11 as we head around Sebring here. For the first of our two pre-season events. Of course, we would have run 3 pre-season events, but because we went an extra week in season number 10 due to our delayed round at Hungaroring, it means that we're only doing the 2 pre-seasons here today at Sebring, and then next week at Interlagos, we'll be heading out for pre-season race number 2. Then on the 10th of April, restarting season number 11 proper. We are going to be kicking it off at the first of 4 UK circuits that are going to be on the calendar for this season. And we'll be heading to Donington Park for the first round of competition. We then head across to Mugello for round number 2 on the 17th of April. And rounding out our runs in April, it will be on the 24th of Nürburgring for round number 3. We then head back to the UK for round number 4, and it is the Silverstone circuit that will be featured there on the 1st of May. The 8th of May will be heading across to Imola, the Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari for round number 5 and the halfway point in the season. The 15th of May, we will be back in the USA, and that time for official point scoring rounds. Round number 6 at the Watkins Glen International Circuit. On the 22nd of May, we head across to Snetterton for round number 7 as we return to the UK, and we stay in the UK on back-to-back weeks as we round out May. On May 29th, we head across to the fastest circuit in the UK, Thruxton, for round number 8. Round number 9, we'll be heading across to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for round number, for on June 5th. And as I say, Mosport is going to be an interesting one in these cars, there's no doubt. And the final round of competition, we'll be heading back to Circuit Zandvoort that has been seen produce some great racing in the SRL TCR League, and it's where a lot of our intro video was shot as well. That'll be on the 12th of June, and that's where we will end for season number 11. And of course, let's not think all the way till June. We've still got March today, and the whole of April and May to go. 10 rounds of competition will be for points, 2 pre-season events, and if you want to jump in and try the pre-season race next week at Interlagos before we head into our rounds of competition, it is free to do so in the pre-season events. Head across to SRL TCR, which is linked in the Discord in the YouTube channel over on SRL TV. It is also with the QR code on your screen as well, so make sure you are checking that one out. And we are heading around this wonderful Sebring circuit. And as we've got about 7 minutes left of this opening practice session, I'm going to welcome you into the commentary booth here at Joseph Wright Broadcasting and SRL TV for the first time this season. And what an end to last season it was as well. Some great racing at Hungaroring and some of the cleanest racing we've seen all season long as well with the invert. Because of course we do get inverted races the way that these events work. They've got their practice session going on now. Then drivers will be heading all out together on circuit for their qualifying session. The results of your qualifying will set your grid for race number 1. That's going to be a 20-minute race where you normally see your pro drivers when we get our classes towards the front, then your semi-pros, your pro-ams, and your AMs. Of course, we do see a mix and match of drivers, and we sometimes see our semi-pros. Results from race number 1 that are taken into race number 2, but your top 15 are reversed, which means your winner from race number 1 will be starting in 15th. If a driver is able to finish race number 1 in 15th, they'll be starting race number 2 from pole position. And today, that's going to be about half the grid involved in the invert. With about 5 minutes left in this session here, we have got 29 drivers who are preparing to go racing. And of course, we welcome you to SRL TV as well as Joseph Wright Broadcasting, as we're live in multiple places, to make sure no matter where you are watching, you're hitting that subscribe button, you're hitting that follow button, because that way you can be notified when we go live and you won't miss any of these races, especially when we go live for the first round of competition in 2 weeks' time. But until then, we've got the 2 pre-season events to get down and into, so it's going to be interesting to see how drivers get on. And of course, it's going to be interesting to see which drivers are going to be finding their way towards the front of the field. And with that being said, with about 5 minutes left in this session, let's have a little bit of a look. And as I get told that, it's the top 10 reversed this season. It's been reduced slightly from last season of competition, and I think that that is a very sensible choice to make. There were a lot of instants, of course, in the invert. Now, that is going to make it trickier for some of our amateur drivers this season to get themselves involved in the invert, but it certainly doesn't discount them. And, of course, those inverted fields helping the lower classes out with their points, because drivers take their points from their overall race results and not from their class results. Today, however, you'll see on the left-hand side, there are no classes. As pre-season events, there are no points on offer. Right then, as you can see on the left-hand side then, Kim Borkland is coming in strong into the pre-season event here for season number 11. He is the fastest man out there right now. Jack Brown is the second fastest in this session, and Brown is, stepped into the season of competition last season for the first time, and he proved to be very strong in his class. Will be looking, I'm sure, will be promoted into a higher class this season of competition. Partnered with Adam Delmont last season was... he was, and as I say that, I didn't see Adam Delmont's name earlier. I do see it now in the preseason. I can't see his name on the season 11 sign-up sheet is what I was looking at earlier. He is out there in this preseason. So we're hoping Adam Delmont, Season 10 Pro and Overall champion, will find himself on the grid again for the 11th season of competition and look to defend back-to-back titles, which has never happened in the SRL TCR league before. Drivers have been able to take multiple race wins in a season, but no one has been able to do it in the same, in back-to-back seasons. We watch Paul Hurley here heading around in the number 12 machine. We will not have team names up today because as we head into the preseason, there'll be a lot of drivers out there who aren't under team banners. There'll obviously be a few drivers that have been shifting teams, so we will wait until round number 1 until we will get our team list as well. And of course, last season we saw 21 teams head out into competition. How many are we going to get this season? That's the question, as drivers push really far out of Sunset Bend there, over the bumping on the outside here as we come towards the end of practice. And as you can see on the left-hand side, 29 drivers are prepared to go racing here today and see what it's all about. And a lot of them familiar names to us, such as Borkland and Brown at the top. You've got Craig Walters, 4th position right now. Dan Mould stepping back into the car. He's out there in the number 1 machine. It's nice to see him back as well. Demis Titular out there as well as Mark Draper, John Bound, Thomas Coombe. Loads of familiar names. Also, a number of new names. Lewis McCaig, like I said, McCaig is signed up for the season as well, so we will be seeing him out there, as Alan Covington is in here as well. Joshua Syme is out there. Simon Moldecleve. I'll do that. There we go. Moldecleve. Just took me a moment, but there you go. Simon Moldecleve is out there as well for the first time. So, you've got lots of new names in the mix as well as familiar names. Gordon Hogg here in 3rd position as well, coming around. And as expected, the Audi is a popular car of choice. Not the only car of choice, though. But we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of our 29 drivers are out there in the brand new Audi machine, which is, of course, just under half the field. But as we head into the final few seconds of practice here, drivers will be preparing themselves for the first qualifying session of the season. Even if it is just a pre-season event, this will help drivers stack themselves up against others. And our wonderful team at SRL, of course, will be taking note of results in the practice session, the qualifying session, and, of course, the race sessions over the next couple of weeks in order to determine drivers' classes as well as their previous results in the championship. So it will be a bit of a mixed bag out there, and then it'll be interesting to see as well if any drivers are swapped around and put into different classes. I think there was only one change last season after the opening few rounds in the classes. The rest of them were all kept in their initial orders. Of course, 4 classes will be heading out in the season competition once more. We've got the pro class at the top, then it's the semi-pros, followed by your pro-ams and your ams at the bottom. We won't have to worry about those classes today, though, because pre-season is about to begin. 15 minutes on the board then, and drivers are heading out of pit lane for the first time in anger as we go and have a little bit of a look. And it very much is in anger as all of our drivers head towards the exit of the pits. They are going to have a bit of a lap, about 3.6 miles ahead of them, to sort themselves out and find them into a good order around the circuit. It is Kim Borkland who will be the first driver out there on the circuit, heading the pack around the Sebring circuit. And we look off the rear end here of Kim Borkland as he heads up towards the hairpin of turn number 7. An interesting circuit, no doubt about that one, Sebring, and it is going to be interesting, of course, to see these TCRs. And if you do like Sebring, then I'm sure this evening, this weekend for you on iRacing is going to be a great one, because, of course, we do have the Sebring 12-hour going on as a special event this weekend. And some of these drivers will be getting laps around this circuit in the TCRs tonight, and then be getting out in the GT3s potentially tomorrow to put in some laps in the 12 hours. And to any of our drivers today that will be doing that, good luck to them. But for now, let's focus on today here in pre-season number 1 for season number 11. And as they head around qualifying here, and if you are just joining us, a non-point scoring round here today and in 2 weeks' time as drivers just get to grips in the pre-season. Of course, they've had 1 race weekend, sorry, should I say 2 race weekends since the car updates. It was Road America and then Hungaroring, and now they have got proper opportunity to test themselves out. There are a mix of cars. The Audi, a popular choice, but so is the Elantra. The Elantra has always been the car of choice for me. It's always been the touring car that I race in myself, and it's nice to see that the Elantra is now a popular car as well, as it is my favourite looking touring car, although the new Audi has very much put contention to that claim. But Jack Brown is heading out there in the number 21 machine, and in what feels very much like a pre-season livery. It's that carbon black livery, no paint scheme, no sponsors, and it'll be interesting to see whether Jack Brown teams up once again with Adam Delmont, because the two of those were an unstoppable force in the next gen team last season. Will they be back into the same team again for this season of competition as we head around and up towards the hairpin? Brown is all over the rear of the number 8 machine. That is Gordon Haig, and you can tell who runs in the same sort of racing banner as Kim Borkland and co. Of course, the Sim Racing Norway team that almost hosted 2 teams last season. Of course, we had Vigard Olsen-Lea out there with Torben Mail in one of the teams, and then Kim Borkland teamed up with Ronald de Jong last season in a mishmash between the Hydro Racing machine and the Sim Racing Norway machine. Jack Brown, though, is getting onto the rear end of Gordon Haig, is getting out there for the first time in anger in the SRL TCR League, and he heads up through turn number 16 of Le Mans with Brown very much in tow here now. Of course, on the straight, this is going to be helping Brown out. There's no doubt about that. He's got a nice tow up ahead of him, but through the corners, being this close to the car in front of you is not going to help you out as we head through turn number 17 of Sunset Bend and up towards the timing line they go. And again, that pushing wide over the bump there on the outside. Across the timing line goes Jack Brown, chasing down the number 8 machine ahead. But with that being said, Brown, the fastest man out there, and that tow has very much come in to help him as he gets in his first lap time. We'll go look at Lewis McCaig here, because McCaig is going to be stepping into season number 11 in the number 3 machine out there in the Audi machine right now. 10 minutes left in this qualifying session, and McCaig has gone 12th fastest, 2.3 seconds off the pace in the number 3 machine, and it's a rather nice livery on that machine actually as he comes up here. We'll have a nice proper look at it in the Snail's Pace Racing machine, and there he goes through, getting the curbing, and he's this nice lower angle. I do like seeing the machines as they head around. Right then, JB Dejay is chasing down Alan Covington here for 18th position in the qualifying order, because Dejay did not get the lap time he would have been hoping for. Now, of course, Dejay was running the old Audi machine, the legacy Audi machine, up until tonight. So even when drivers made the jump across to the new Audi machine, they were allowed to make 1 free car change in a season. A lot of drivers in season number 10 made the jump across into the updated Audi. JB DJ, however, remained in the legacy Audi. He has now made the switch across to the new Audi machine, and we watch the number 621 machine heading around. That was out of turn number 13 of Tower, and of course up towards the back straight now, the Almond Straight it is called, as Jason Landry finds himself in third position. Craig Walters has been putting in some great lap times today, not only in the practice session, he's managed to bring that across into qualifying. What will be interesting is that Adam Delmont makes his way out of pit lane, because he has yet to come out of the pits. With 8 minutes left on the clock, we're waiting for a few drivers to be able to put in their first lap times, as Borkland finally gets in a lap time, pulls over to the side. It's good enough for fifth. Gordon Haig went second fastest, but then beaten to the line by Craig Walters, who goes third fastest. And Daniel Downing, our semi-pro champion from season number 10, is fastest overall in the qualifying session here in the preseason, and there was no doubt that he was going to make his way into the pro field for this season of competition. And already he is showing the pace is there. Jack Brown is very likely to find himself within either the semi-pro or pro field this season. He was in the pro am field, if I'm not mistaken, season 10. I think we will see him definitely in the semi-pros. There's a chance he'll be put up into the pro field. He has found significant pace. He's recently stepped into the service, and of course last season was his first season of competition, and he showed pace from the get-go, and he just improved as he went around. Brown going quite a little bit slowly here in that carbon fiber testing livery, as it were. Thomas Kuhn comes across the line here and places his car into 11th position, running around in the JC Cooley Academy machine and in the Elantra for this season. Again, the field of cars is very much either the Audi or the Elantra. That is the main car of choices. However, you do have the Hondas still out there as well. What I'm trying to figure out is if we have any Velosters. At the moment, I don't think the Velosters are represented by anyone. Is Mark Draper in a Veloster? No. It looked like he might have been from the front. But no, it is in fact no Velosters out there. So we have our Elantras and our Audis as our main car of choice. There are then 6 Hondas that have been chosen for this pre-season event. Of course, whatever cars are driven in the pre-season event does not mean they have to drive those cars when we get into the main season of competition. Once they do hit that first race, whatever car they've chosen, they have to stick with it. They can only make one car choice then, car change through the course of the season, and you don't often see drivers changing cars mid-season. We saw it last season because of the update to the TCRs. It brought the Elantras back into the mix, but crucially, it brought out the new Audi, and on release, the Audi being the strongest of the cars, of course. So they were, that was the one that was chosen by most as we head around the wonderful Sebring circuit here. 3.6 miles long, 10 minutes of qualifying have come to a close, and 5 more minutes remain as Brown pulls over to the side. We have a look at Simon Muldercleave here. He sits in 12th position in this session, just over a second off of pole position right now. Demis Titchler is what I would class as the best of the rest right now. He is the first of the drivers outside of a second of pole position, and racing in what is a updated Hydro Race Racing Forces livery, and a new paint scheme on the Elantra that we've been used to within the Hydro Race team for a few seasons of competition. Of course, last season It was a livery that was mishmashed together on with another team at some points as well, with De Jong. Titular, however, racing purely under the Hydro Ace Racing Forces. He'll do so again this season, and a nice update to that livery and that paint scheme in that machine as well. And it's nice to see a difference in some of the liveries as they head into the 11th season competition, and it looks like Lucas Henschel may have potentially found himself a subsidiary of the Jazz Esports machine. Of course, you can see the jazzracing.com on the side, but it looks like the Blitz Boys Motorsports might be stepping into this season of competition potentially, as we may see another new team enter the fray, and it'll be nice to do that. John Brown running under the SRL team, and of course there were a number of SRL teams last season. I think there were, to my reckoning, 4 of the SRL banners in the end under various colours, and Thomas Kuhn was one of the drivers under the JC Academy umbrella, and it looks like he'll be under that one again. They had 3 teams out there last season. Are we going to see another strong running from the JC Academy teams in their numbers? We shall see. Samuel Sproul out there, again another driver running in a testing black livery, and I have to say, I'm glad that not everybody is running the testing black, but it is nice to see the testing black out there in these pre-seasons. They do make the cars look very, very sleek indeed. Jack Brown is down pit lane, will not be able to improve, but Craig Walters is looking to try and close up towards Brown and Downing. Downing still the fastest out there in this qualifying session. Jack Brown the second fastest, less than a tenth of a second off. However, it is just a little bit too much. Craig Walters here is pulling around his teammate there of Garrity. Of course, over the next couple of weeks, it is only teammates, bar unofficial teammates, of course, because they are not running under their team banners over the next couple of weeks. We'll see that those team banners being run in just a couple of weeks' time. Do you know what? I have to say, I've always liked the livery for these machines. However, it looks absolutely beautiful on the Elantra. I've always liked it on the Honda, and I don't know if they've updated it slightly, because it looks like there's like almost like a shine to the black, and it's got this pattern which I just don't remember seeing before as Garrity goes through. In fact, we're going to have a look at Garrity, because it looks like Garrity's got that shine on it now as well. He does. You know what? I think they've updated that livery for this season of competition, because that is a very nice looking livery. I do like the pattern in the black there. This qualifying session has become a livery spotting session for us here, as we check them all out, of course, running out there for the first time. And if you are watching over on the SRL TV YouTube channel, welcome in. Make sure you are hitting that subscribe button so you're notified when we go live for our future races, as we are partnering once up again. Joseph Wright Broadcasting and SRL TV are together again for season number 11. All 12 races, the 2 pre-seasons and the 10 rounds of competition are all going to be brought to you live on SRL TV and Joseph Wright Broadcasting for yet another season of amazing competition. 20 seconds left in this qualifying session for our drivers, and it has been a very good one for Daniel Downing, semi-pro champion of season number 10, is looking to start strong here in pre-season, and he'll be hoping to carry this momentum not only through this evening, not only through next week, but also into the first official round of the season. With that being said, then, we are going to get your grid then for you here at Sebring for round number 1, and it is for pre-season round number 1, and it is Daniel Downing who is going to be on pole position. Jack Brown is in second, with Craig Walters in third. Gordon Haig is going to start in 4th ahead of Dan Mould. Jason Landry will be starting in 6th place. 7th place on the grid is going to be Kim Borkland, Mark Draper in 8th, Dimas Titchler in 9th position, and Chris London in 10th. Paul Hurley will be starting this one in 11th, and Thomas Kuhn will be starting in 12th position. Simon Mouldercleave will be starting in 13th out of Daniel Lewis. Lucas Henschel will be starting in 15th. John Brown from 16th position. Deck Crowther will be starting in 17th, ahead of Samuel Sproul in 18th position. JB Deshay will be starting in 19th, ahead of Joshua Seam, and Carl Hardy in 21st. Stuart Gibbons will start from 22nd, ahead of Fraser Garrity and Torburn Mail. It is then Lewis McCaig in 25th, ahead of Matt Pierce. Andy Littler from 27th. Alan Covington from 28th position, and Adam Dalmont did not put in a lap time. He is in the session but not out on the field. Will he be taking the green? We shall have to wait and find out. 20 minutes of racing here to come this Friday night on SRL TV as we prepare to go to get underway for the pre-season and the first race of season number 11 here, and we look up towards the start of this one. Drivers all on the field, ready to go green and racing, as are we here in the commentary box. Glad to be back and welcome you all in to the broadcast, and hope you're having a good one as we prepare to get going here, as 20 minutes are on the clock and we are about to get underway. We are green here at Sebring, heading up towards turn number 1, and it is cars weaving left, right as they come up towards turn number 1, and there's contact already. Big issues in the back of the field. Up towards turn number 1, the front of the field are going to try and get through without issues, but more cars off, including, well, we've got Daniel Lewis, Lewis McCaig, Demis Titchener, Fraser Garrity, Simon Muldercleave, all with issues on the opening section of this race. It's about 8 cars at the back of this field that are going to have to come down pit lane with meatballs. In fact, some of them already down pit lane with meatballs. Thomas Coombe has got a black flag off the start. It was a hectic start because Dan Mould looks to the inside of Jack Brown. We will get you a replay of that instant in due course. But Dan Mould looking to move on to a podium on the opening lap of Asking here, and has gone up to 3rd from 5th on the grid. Brown, though, is not looking to let him have that easily. Looks to the outside, Mould holds it on the inside, and now Jason Landry just behind thought he might be able to tuck his nose in and give it a go. He won't be able to. He will have to drop down. John Brown has just made a move past Paul Hurley, and Chris London gets to the inside as well and makes that move up into 9th position as they finally settle themselves down. It was cars sideways on the starting line. And as we head towards the back of the field, Jason Landry here looking to try and get past Jack Brown, who has fallen to 4th from 2nd on the grid. Mark Draper just behind has climbed up from 8th into 6th position. On to Ullman Straight here and up towards the final turn. It was Daniel Downing trying to break the toe on Craig Walters out front, and he moves back in, and this is Jason Landry now looking to get to the inside of Jack Brown. They go side by side as they enter Sunset Bend, trying to go the tighter line here for Landry. Brown on that wider line. Landry on the inside line there, able to carry some good speed as we come up towards the timing line. And it is going to be Landry ahead of Jack Brown. Brown will have the inside line, though, in towards turn number 1. And Brown will just, for the moment, hold on to that one. But Landry swaps back across to go to the inside, up towards turn number 3. And he does make his way through. Landry into 4th place now. Jack Brown will not be letting this lie as Mark Draper chasing down just behind, looking to see if he can find his way up any positions. And with that all being said, there's contact. Deck Crowther and Samuel Sproul find themselves into the wall following contact. And as we were about to get across to a replay, issues on the live main screen. Lewis McCaig then, let's see what happened on the start here. It was, oh, that was already spins ahead, and a big old slam there with Daniel Lewis. What happened to Daniel Lewis? It looked like a collection behind. We'll have to have another look here. as we have a jump and see. Daniel Moores moves to the left. It's 4 wide, 5 wide even. That is never going to work out. And I think that you can say lots of cars involved in that one. But yeah, 5 wide was never going to play out in this one, which is a shame for our drivers, but issues up and down the field. As look at this, Joshua Seam coming out of that one, broken suspension on the left front. Matt Pierce also with some issues. In fact, it was then Syme who spun. Pierce went straight into him, and that was further issues. This was Deck Crowther and Sproul that we caught live on stream, and it was also someone else that there was caught up with just up ahead as well, and that's how that one all occurred. And with that being said, there's been more issues as Lucas Henschel has found himself off the circuit. Fortunately for him, that wasn't too many issues, but actually he found himself into the wall just about a few seconds prior to that, which is why he has found himself falling down the order. And it was a slow-moving car of, I think that's JB Dejay just up ahead there, that has then caused him to hit the wall, meatball flag, and damage. JB Dejay had damage himself and will come down pit lane. And there's been a lot of cars in this one that have had to come down pit lane and deal with all of the issues as we head up towards turn number 2 for these drivers into turn number 3 on the left-hander, and everything is working okay for them at the front. Talking about the front, Daniel Downing continues to lead the way. It is Craig Walters chasing down behind, and Dan Mould, a previous champion in the series. He was up there potentially to fight towards some championship positions, but injuries led him to step back from season number 10. We'll see how he gets on today, and hopefully we'll see him return for the 11th season of competition. As I look at our gaps here, quite a lot of our field have come down pit lane. The top 14, it looks like, have not come down pit lane, which means your bottom 14 have, with Adam Delmont, who did not get out onto the circuit. Stuart Gibbons here looking to get up the inside of Torburn Mail, decides to back out of that as they come up towards turn number 10. But Gibbons all over the rear end of Mail here, and it looks like it might open the door as he gives him a little bit of a push there. The Elantra just pushing the 842 in the Honda here as they come out of Tower and up towards Bishop. This kink to the left-hand side. Gibbons running a much wider line, and he's going to place his car to the inside of Torburn Mail here into turn number 15, up towards Le Mans now, and on to Ulman Straight. It is not a great exit for Torburn Mail. Stuart Gibbons is going to find the speed, moves to the right-hand side. This is the battle going on for 9th and 10th position right now as Gibbons makes the move through up into 9th. Mail falls down into 10th, and they swap positions. Stuart Gibbons will hold on to 9th place now ahead of Mail. Dan Mould getting the purple lap last time around, chasing down Craig Walters. He wants to move into 2nd place here and then gets onto the hunt of Daniel Downing. Somehow we're almost halfway through this race already. With the lap times as they are, we are anticipating 10 laps of racing action for our drivers. And they are currently on the 4th tour of the circuit with Dan Mould all over the rear end of Craig Walters right now, looking to try and make his way through into P number 2 past the Elantra. Again, that Elantra being another very strong machine in the TCRs now. A slight lock up there as they come through turn number 10 up into Collier. The left hand of turn number 11 up towards the braking zone now of 13. Both drivers getting over the curbing, and Mould for the time being just has to chase behind Craig Walters. It is one of the closest fights out there between two drivers, but there are a number of fights going on right now, including fights between more than two drivers. We ride on board with Paul Hurley, who is chasing down Gordon Haig, and Carl Hardy in 6th and 7th position just up ahead. It is Hardy that is leading the field, this train of drivers, I should say, right now in his Honda. He has got a Audi and an Elantra chasing down. It's a mix of cars right now. And we head up towards turn number 17 of Sunset, and that's going to be Gordon Haig looking to the inside. He started this one in 4th, of course. He's fallen to 7th, but returns back up to 6th position as Carl Hardy, who started this race in 21st position, currently running around now in 7th. He's found his way very much up the order with all the issues that were ongoing in the early stages, and he is certainly not backing out of the fight with Gordon Haig here as they fly past the camera and head up towards turn number 1. But Haig does hold on ahead for the time being. Thomas Kuhn running around in 14th place right now, has JB Dijay very far behind in 15 seconds behind in 15th place. He doesn't have to worry behind him. He can focus his entire attention to Samuel Sproul ahead. Remember, Sproul went off earlier on in the race, contact that sent him around. Thomas Kuhn looking to try and get through in this one, and coming through turn number 5 for Thomas Kuhn, chasing down Samuel Sproul. With 10 minutes left on the board here. Dan Mould just a few tenths of a second off of Walters. Walters about a second off of your race lead at the moment, as Downing is doing a great job at leading this one with about that second gap. And like I said, the semi-pro champion stepping into the season 11 of competition. And bearing in mind, he will be making that way up into the pro field this season. This is exactly what he would have liked to see. Of course, he would have wanted to see this being a point-scoring round as Dan Mould goes to the inside of Craig Walters through Le Mans. Now on to Ulman Straight. Dan Mould getting the toe. Walters moves to the left-hand side. Mould follows through, and what a terrible camera shot that was. But Mould goes to the inside here, up towards Sunset Bend. It is side by side for second position. Mould will carry the speed on the inside. The Audi is going to find the pace on the Elantra, but Craig Walters is going to keep it side by side as they cross the timing line, separated by just 1/4 tenth of a second. It is going to be the inside line for Craig Walters. Former teammates, of course, season number 9. These two were teammates as Dan Mould goes to the inside of Craig Walters up through turn number 3. He's got significant overlap, but Walters is not backing out. The long left-hander of 5, Walters is carrying the speed on the outside. He just has enough of a wheel in here as they head up towards the hairpin. Walters is going to continue fighting. This fighting is allowing Daniel Downing to just pull away at the front. As there's a little bit of a nudge there, but Walters regains second. Mould is not giving up right now. He is going to stay side by side as we come through Fangio up towards turn number 10. Outside line for Dan Mould, inside line for Craig Walters, and there's contact. Mould slides, falls behind Jack Brown. But if you saw what I saw, there was definitely some gap between them there. We'll have to have another look at that one as they came onto the brakes here. There was definitely room between them. There was definitely room between them on that one. And I think they may have just had an unfortunately bit of netcode to cause that issue. But it does mean that Dan Mould has fallen now 1 second off of Jack Brown. 0.6 of a second Brown has on Craig Walters. But all that fighting has given Daniel Downing a 3-second advantage at the front of the field here, which means Downing is looking to try and take the first win of pre-season racing. And he'll be looking to carry that sort of help and, that sort of pace into the first round of competition in a couple of weeks' time. Of course, new update to this season. Only a top 10 are going to be inverted rather than your top 15, which means that right now it will be Torburn Mail who will be benefiting the most out of that one to start race number 2 on pole position, but he does have Alan Covington just behind him, and both of those drivers are up multiple positions, but Covington is up from 28th and last on this grid. He is currently up into 11th position, just avoiding incidents and issues that other drivers have been having. And we head up towards turn number 7 of the hairpin with Jack Brown chasing down Craig Walters. Dan Mould chasing down Jack Brown, chasing down Craig Walters. Nobody at the moment really chasing down Daniel Downing at the front of this one. We head back towards the midfield. This is Demis Titchler looking to get past Lucas Henschel. Titchler's found himself down the order as well in this one. 9 places lost. Contact that sent him around earlier as well. Of course, down pit lane, because it is your top 14 that have not had to visit pit lane in this race. The rest of your field have had issues and down pit lane. Jason Landry out of this race. I'm not sure when he went out, because he was involved in all of the fight going on towards the front of this one early doors. As Titchler looks to the inside of Lucas Henschel, there won't be anything going on there. This might be what happened to Jason Landry. He was, whoa, his contact through Sunset Bend. He finds himself sideways and down. And was that Landry then out of, it was Landry out of the race following that minor bit of contact there. Of course, in the touring cars, these front wheel drive touring cars, you've definitely just got to put your foot to the throttle. Just if you start sliding, put your foot to the throttle, you will find yourself facing the right way again. And that just didn't happen in that situation. And Landry made the slowest spin possible through Sunset Bend. Alan Covington here looking to try and get into a top 10 position, because that will give him pole position in the inverted field. The 25-minute race, of course, is race number 2. And if you are watching this over on SRL TV, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you're notified when we go live. We've got pre-season number 2 in a week's time. But then in 2 weeks' time, season 11 will start proper. And our championship will kick off at Donington. If you're watching over on either of the any of the Joe's Right channels, or you're following us on any of our social medias, or you're watching us on any of the social medias, then make sure that you are hitting that follow button, that subscribe button, whatever it may be, so you can get notified when we go live. We've got some more touring car action coming your way this weekend as we head out on Sunday night in the touring cars as well. Change for 3rd position, and that's happened rather suddenly, as Jack Brown has had some sort of issue. As he look to the inside of Walters, then missed his braking point completely for Jack Brown. Hops off the circuit there, and Brown is down and out. We will have another look at that one for Jack Brown. He looked to the inside of Craig Walters. Look at that, looks to the inside, moved back to the racing line, just misjudged the braking point. There was contact there as well. And then Brown just pulls over to the sides, decides to give this one a, cool his time in this one. Dan Mould then will be now looking to try and get past his former teammate once again in Craig Walters and see if he can find his way to the front. He's going to have 2 more laps of asking to try and do that, because Daniel Downing is going to cross the line with 2 minutes 15 on the board. A lap time is 2 minutes 12, which means we will get 2 more laps of asking here, which I think is what Mould might need in this fight that is ongoing, because he has a few tenths back. Who isn't a few tenths back is Gordon Haig. He is only 2 tenths back going into the corner towards John Brown. He went for a slightly different run through turn number 1. So we head in towards turn number 3. Haig looks for a moment to go to the inside of John Brown. Backs out of that one though. Doesn't go for the overtake and will hold on to 5th position for the time being, as the fight for 10th position has now changed, because Covington, with Brown going down and out, Covington is now into 10th, but Thomas Coombe and Sam Sproul are just behind and could be trying to get themselves involved in this one as well, because they only need to get into top 10 to start the next race in pole position. Dan Mould is going to look for 2nd place past his former teammate of Craig Walters as they come through. Turn number 10 there into Collier. Mould all over the rear end right now, as Walters running a slightly defensive line up towards Tower there. Out of turn number 13. Mould goes to the outside. Walters holding the inside there. No overlap for the time being, but Mould knows that there is going to be an opportunity to make this overtake work as we come through turn number 15. And he goes to the inside. Up towards the back straight. Mould pushes Walters off the circuit. We've seen racing around Sebring before with overtakes like that, and it was cause for hot debate. Mould goes defensive up towards Sunset Bend. Walters goes to the outside here. They're side by side through the final turn. Mould on that inside line. They come up towards the white flag lap, and Dan Mould leads Craig Walters onto the final lap of asking here. Daniel Downing 4 seconds in the clear, but the fight for P2 is not over yet. Through turn number 1, Walters gets onto the rear end of Dan Mould. The kink to the right is turn 2. We get on the brakes as we swing to the left of 3 here. Dan Mould holding on just up ahead at the moment with Walters all over his rear bumper. He'll be thinking about where he can try and make the overtake. Will he be thinking, well, if Mould can do it, I can do it, and Le Mans might be the corner to do that in as they head up towards Ulman Straight. But right now, it's into hairpin. Dan Mould holds on ahead for the time being and will keep it in 2nd position. 3/10 clear. Paul Hurley is getting onto the rear of Carl Hardy here and might have an opportunity to get into 6th position at the end of this race, and the battle for the invert pole is still on, with Coombe chasing down Covington here for 10th position. Covington runs slightly wide into hairpin there, could lay up a good opportunity for Thomas Coombe behind. Walters kicks up a bit more of the gravel and dirt than he probably would have been hoping to on the outside there. And Dan Mould is just going to maintain the gap up ahead at the moment as Daniel Downing heads up towards Ulman Straight. Craig Walters isn't going to be able to do anything here unless Mould gets a poor run onto Ulman Straight. But as it stands, half a second will separate them. Lights flashing from Walters there. Paul Hurley trying to get a good run on Carl Hardy as well as they come through turn number 16 and onto the Ulman Straight. But for Daniel Downing, it's a perfect start to season number 11. He would have hoped it was a point-scoring round, but a pole to victory for the Season 10 Semi-Pro Champion. Dan Mould will take home 2nd ahead of Craig Walters, and John Brown will keep it just up ahead of Gordon Haig. Carl Hardy will come across the line ahead of Paul Hurley in 5th and 6th position. Stuart Gibbons will come across the line in P number 8. Torburn Mail up to the line now, 9th place. He will get there ahead of Thomas Coombe, who beat Covington to 10th place. Sam Sproul in 12th position. JB Deshay is slow on the final lap of asking. But what has happened here in the fight for 10th place into the final corner? It was Coombe to the inside of Covington. And Thomas Coombe just broke later. Covington trying potentially to do that switch back across, but just backing out a little bit too much there. And it means Thomas Coombe will be starting the final race of the day on pole position. as the rest of our drivers come up towards the timing line here. Kim Borkland will come home, take home 20th position. And as we get our final few drivers in this one coming up and around towards the end of the lap and end of the race, it will be Joshua Syme who comes home in 21st position. Daniel Lewis behind in 22nd. Of course, these drivers all having issues throughout the race, coming down pit lane after early contact, whether they were caught up in that opening lap accident or whether they were caught up in later issues. And Lewis McCaig will cross the line in 23rd and come home last in this session. And when he comes across the line, we will get you your full race results from the first of 2 races here at Sebring today. Lewis McKay comes out of the final turn and will come up towards the timing line and finishes the race there in 23rd position. Right then, let's have a look at your full race results from race number 1. It was Daniel Downing who came home in first position at the end of that one and managed to take home a dominant victory, 4 seconds clear of Dan Mould. Craig Walters came home in 3rd ahead of John Brown. It was then Gordon Haig in 5th ahead of Carl Hardy. Paul Hurley crossed the line in 7th place. Stuart Gibbons in 8th position ahead of Torben Mayle and Thomas Coombe. It was Alan Covington who came home in 11th position. Coombe taking that 10th place just at the end of the race. It means he will be starting race number 2 on the front of the grid. Samuel Sproul will be starting in 12th out of Andy Littler. Fraser Garrity from 14th and Lucas Henschel in 15th place. Dennis Titchler will start this one in 16th, will finish that one, sorry, in 16th place. Ahead of Mark Draper, Chris London in 18th. JB Dejay in 19th position ahead of Kim Borkland. Joshua Syme came home in 21st place ahead of Daniel Lewis, and Lewis McCaig was the last of your drivers on your lead lap. Down and out, 2 laps to the end was Jack Brown. Out early doors with Dec Crowther, Jason Landry, Simon Moldecleve, Matt Pearce, and of course Adam Delmont not making the grid in that one. With that being said then, race number 1 is over and race number 2 is about to begin. Drivers have just a few minutes in which they will be getting their cars sorted out again, and they'll be preparing that themselves for the what will be the second race of the day. But after the first race of the day, we are going to have a little bit of a word. I was hoping we could have had a word with our race 1 winner. However, it doesn't look like Daniel Downing is available for communication right now. So we'll talk to the man who finished second in that one. And we will pull on Dan here. And Dan, it's nice to see you back down on track again here for the pre-season. We'll obviously be missing you out there. And you've returned very competitively all the way out the front there, fighting for some podiums. And what a fight it was all race long.
Yeah, it was a good race with Craig. Still getting used to this new physique of the TCR. I've not spent much time on it, to be fair. But yeah, it's very different to what I'm used to. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say that it's been nice to see you back there, and you say you've not been out in these new cars, which have had a bit of an overhaul. And of course, you are out there in the brand new Audi machine as well. So it's not just getting used to an old car; it's learning a new one. How are you feeling in that car? Do you think it is one that is going to be able to pull you up towards the front in most races?
I mean, I did a few laps in the Civic when the update come, and my time was pretty competitive compared to the Civic and the Audi. I just feel like with any new car in iRacing, the new car gets the OP treatment, so I just thought I'd give it a whirl. Not entirely a fan of the updates. I just feel like there's no feeling in the cars anymore, but it is what it is, so you just keep on going. Still struggling with the injuries, so we'll see how it goes.
You say there with the injuries, it was a shame to see you drop out of season number 10, of course. Season number 11 pre-season, though, it's lovely to have you back there out on the track. And good luck with race number 2. The invert course just the top 10, which means you'll find yourself in 9th position for the start of race number 2, Dan. So good luck, and hopefully it goes your way once again.
Cheers, Joe. Thank you.
Dan Mould there coming home in 2nd position, and we will call that one our interviews for the mid-race, as normally we're only able to pull in about a driver or two due to the length, but do stick around at the end of race number 2, which will be starting momentarily, because we do have a lot more time, and we do normally sit and pull in most of the race winners within classes, and we pull out anyone else that wants to be interviewed, and I do like to talk to quite a few drivers out there. So we will see who we get around to talking to at the end of race number 2, so do stick around. Make sure you're not jumping off too early for that one, because it's always nice to hear a driver's point of view with how they found the races and how they found in that case, down getting into the cars for what has been a fairly new thing for him, as he's had to step back due to those injuries. But it's nice to see him out there, and as I was saying, very competitive as well, finding himself battling for a podium and ended up coming in P number 2 ahead of Craig Walters. And of course, Jack Brown was involved in that fight early doors, but going out with just a couple of laps to go after missing his braking point and going into the rear end of Craig Walters. Then, with the grid setting themselves up for race number 2, we are going to find our top 10 reversed. It is going to be Thomas Coombe on pole position ahead of Torburn Mayo. Stuart Gibbons will start this one in 3rd ahead of Paul Hurley. Carl Hardy from 5th, and Gordon Haig will start in 6th position. 7th will go the way of John Brown ahead of Craig Walters. Dan Mould will start in 9th, and Daniel Downing, your pole sitter and race number 1 winner, will be starting from our new invert position of 10th. Alan Covington, just missing out, will start in 11th, and the rest you feel behind will start in the order they finish race number 1. Therefore, it's Sproul from 12th position ahead of Litzler and Garrity. Henschel is next ahead of Titchler, Draper, and Chris London. And then it's JB Deshay and Kim Borkland rounding out your top 20 on the grid. Joshua Syme will start in 21st ahead of Daniel Lewis. Lewis McCraig will start in 23rd ahead of Jack Brown. Deck Crowther in 25th ahead of Jason Landry. Simon Moldickley from 27th ahead of Matt Pierce. And then Adam Delmont, if he makes his way through his grid, which he didn't in race number 1, will start from the back of the field again. That being said, I think we are going to be missing a number of drivers towards the back of the field in this one, including Jack Brown and Jason Landry, potentially. We shall have to wait and see, though. We prepare for racing action then for the 2nd race of the day, and because we are adding an extra 5 minutes onto your timing board, we're going to see an extra 2 laps of racing, which means we're going to go for 12 laps around the Sebring circuit here for the 2nd race of the day. There's Thomas Coombe. We'll be starting this one from the very front of the field, and he'll be happy to be starting there. Of course, he always seems to have pace in events that aren't point scored. He had some good pace at the non-championship event midway through last season when Hungaroring was delayed. He now starts this one from pole after getting top 10 in race 1. 25 minutes on the board. And we are away and heading up towards turn number 1. Are we going to remain all clean this time? Because we went around in race 1 and we go around in race 2 as well. And huge wrecks once again, cars going up into the air in that one. And for a 2nd race in a row, we see a huge wreck on the start-finish straight at the towards the midfield of the pack. And that has caught out 9 drivers that have damage. 8 of them have got race-ending damage. They'll have to get those fixed and head back out. I'm not sure how many we will see back out after that one. This is your midfield, though, up towards the hairpin, and it is Paul Hurley who's just gone very deep into the hairpin there, losing out to Daniel Downing as Andrew Litzler is apparently leading this race, but it looks like that's because he's cut the course at turn number 2 there to try and make it a nice way through, and he has been black flagged with that one as well, and I'm sure that stop and go is going to be about 5 minutes along. In this midfield though, drivers are trying to get themselves all sorted. John Brown comes together with Stuart Gibbons, and Gibbons hard into the wall there will also find himself down and out, and this has been the going of it, hasn't it, today. And John Brown has also got a meatball from all of that contact, and I think this will happen though. Of course, there are penalties that are applied in this league now. They were introduced in Season 10, but pre-season events, it's non-competition. It's drivers that might just be stepping in to see what it's all about. As look at Andrew Litzler's car there. That is the biggest crabbing I think I've seen in any car heading around the circuit. Right, Carl Hardy drops behind Gordon Hager, is looking to take his way to the front, but it is Thomas Kuhn who leads the way around the opening lap of Asking here. He started in pole position and he will hold on to the leading class. Gordon Hager ahead of Carl Hardy as they come through turn number 1 and up towards the timing line, and slam on the brakes here. Craig Walters trying to be a part of this one. Right then, let us for a moment track back. Lap number 1, oh my word, it's already absolute carnage. And was it a 4 wide moment again? Is that this race? Because that looks identical. No, I don't think that is. Is it? I think that is this. That looked identical. Whoa! Look at the airtime there that Daniel Lewis got. Here we go. This is the start. This is Daniel Lewis. He's behind it all. It is a different accident. The other one, I think it looked similar. But look at that pinching maneuver. Daniel Lewis just goes right into the air in all of that one. Look at this. Hit to the wall. Boom. What a hit. We're going to see this on board Samuel Sproul now. So 13. And the car just moves across to his right. The 13th place car there moves across to the right. There's a little bit of contact there, and there was just no give or take from any driver involved in that one. That being said, changes for positions towards the very front here as Craig Walters. That's why Walters has found himself hard into the wall. This is what has happened to Craig Walters as we went back live. It was Dan Mould to the inside, and it was big contact from Mould and Craig Walters. They had a good fight going on in race number 1, but Walters has got major damage and pulls to the side and will be out of this one. A lot of cars out early doors in this inverted race, and it is only 5 minutes into it. 20 minutes still on board. That is the length of race number 1, and already we have had carnage galore throughout this field. And this is without an invert as well. Of course, a lot of cars were caught up in the first accident in race number 1, which meant we had fast cars towards the back. And it means we've had a bit of a swap again as Daniel Downing is side by side with Paul Hurley here. Downing winning race number 1 is up to 5th, but fighting with Hurley for that position as Hurley now holds the right-hand side and the 5th position on the circuit. Daniel Downing, though, goes for the later break there. Looks to the outside, up towards the hairpin. That was Garrity going deep behind. Downing gets some good speed on the outside here. As we see a number of cars pulled over to the side, as that was DJ, I believe it was, who was pulled over to the side there as Downing confirms his overtake. As that was Maldecleve looking like he might try to get to the inside of Fraser Garrity. It wouldn't quite work out, and he will stay behind for the time being. As he does have Demis Titchler all over his rear end as well. But it is Daniel Downing now leading this train of cars. He has 5 seconds that he needs to try and gain, but Paul Hurley is not going to give him that opportunity to pull away just yet as he looks around the outside as they came through Bishop. But up towards Le Mans, they've settled themselves down. It is 5 seconds for Downing to get himself up towards this fight right now, which is being led by Thomas Coombe. He leads the way. And we ride on board looking back towards Gordon Haig here. Haig looking for that tighter inside line with 18 minutes on the board. It is only 0.2 of a second separating them as they come up towards the timing line now. But it is certainly not the only fight out there because there are a number of trains. And look at this train just behind. It is being led by Daniel Downing. It's then Paul Hurley just behind, and then Fraser Geraghty as well. And it is going to be side-by-side action right now as Torburn Mail look to the inside of Paul Hurley, had to back out of it, and now they are Constantinoing up out of turn number 1. There's a little bit of a nudge there. Geraghty on the rear end of Mail somehow. They stay facing the right way, and after all of that, they almost got through cleanly, and they are somehow facing the right way, but contact in this fight that is going on. As this is the battle that does lead up to 6th position now, but we'll have to back out of it as Dan Mould gets to the inside of Carl Hardy. Gordon Haig once again all over the rear end behind, and this is Covington to the inside of Fraser Geraghty. It's side by side between Titchler and Mouldercleave. Mouldercleave just up ahead as well, as Geraghty is trying to keep it on the outside line of Covington here. We'll just about do that for the time being. Titchler to the inside of Mouldercleave. Mouldercleave trying to keep it on the outside line and carries the speed there. There's a little bit of a touch. Titchler will be now off racing line and will invite Mark Draper in side by side through Collier up towards Tower now. Will be stuck on the outside for Draper, and Titchler will hold on for the time being there in 9th position. As there's fighting up and down this field right now. We head up towards turn number 16 of Le Mans. As we go back towards the race lead here, because it is Gordon Haig looking to try and find his way through right now, up in towards Sunset Bend with Haig behind Coombe. It's the tighter line here once again for Haig. The Audi, though, just seems to be stronger running the tighter line. The Lancia just seems to be smoother running that slightly wider line. But we come up towards the timing line now, and Gordon Haig is all over the rear end of Thomas Coombe now up towards turn number 1, and he's going to look towards the inside. Coombe goes for the wider run through turn 1, leaving the door completely open for Gordon Haig. Haig will keep it to the inside, onto the brakes for turn number 3, and the number 8 machine of Gordon Haig gets past Thomas Coombe and moves into 2nd position. Daniel Lewis gets past JB Deshea up towards turn number 1. They're fighting it out for 18th and 19th as Deshea massively sideways there through turn number 1. Coombe is not ready to give Haig up just yet, though, and looking up towards the hairpin to try and make his way back through. Dan Mould just behind will be trying to take full advantage of this, and Daniel Downing is closing it in behind, but he needs these drivers to start fighting for him to be able to properly catch up and potentially move through the order. Top 19 cars in this race are still running. The bottom 7 are out, with only 26 of our 28 race starters from race number 1 coming to start this one, with a number of them backing out of race number 2 following race issues in race 1. Mark Draper has just had issues and found himself off the circuit. There was contact there, major contact there with Torburn Mail, sending Mark Draper around. Was it Mail actually, or was it? Yeah, it was Mail. Who had contact there. You can see the front end damage on Torburn Mail's machine, and he is behind Joshua Simon looking to potentially make his way back through. As this is Dan Mould, he has made his way past Thomas Coombe up into Le Mans, and it was a corner in which Dan Mould has loved overtaking. He did it in Season 9. He's doing it again here today. Dives to the inside of Thomas Coombe and finds his way up into second, now chasing down Gordon Haig. Daniel Downing 4 seconds back right now. That was a 5-second disadvantage, so he is closing it down, but he is going to be hoping that Haig, that Haig keeps Mould behind just a little bit. Through the exit of turn number 5 then, and into Big Bend. It is Gordon Haig leading this race at the moment, but there is still a fight going on behind. It's 17th and 18th, JB Deshay and Daniel Lewis. Both of them have had to come down pit lane to sort out issues. They run side by side into turn number 3. Deshay's going to hold it there. It'll give him the inside of 5 here, but the outside line will give then Lewis the advantage as they come through Big Bend. And they stay side by side in their fight in 17th and 18th position as Deshay falls down. Joshua Syme looks like he has had some issues and finds himself off the circuit, potentially out of this race. As once again, Deshay and Lewis just remain side by side there. Who is going to come out on top at this one once they settle themselves down is going to be the inside line here for Lewis. Deshay will be stuck on the outside, but he can close the door there as we try and find out what happened to Syme. He is out, and this is what happened to Joshua Syme. And it looks like it was a disconnection for him, which is a real shame, as it's put him down pit lane and potentially out of this race as well. Back up towards your front, though. It is Thomas Coombe behind Dan Mould, behind Haig. It's Carl Hardy 1.3 back. And then Daniel Downing on a charge right now. He has closed his gap to 3.3 seconds. We are 12 minutes left on the board, but as they come across timing line here, I think that's going to be halfway through. Looks like we might get 12 laps on the board, but of course we pushed it very close in race number 1 onto that 10th lap of asking. We might not get the 12 that is anticipated, but we shall have to wait and see as our race leaders come around. And we return to Daniel Lewis versus JB Deshay, because their fight for 17th position is one for the ages right now, and Lewis has made his way back through. Matt Pearce then looking to try and get the outside of Lewis. McCaig up towards turn number 1. McCaig will hold it on the inside, and Matt Pearce backs out because he goes for the speed on the exit. He'll swing to the left-hand side, and it'll be the inside onto the brakes for turn number 3. And McCaig has to let the Honda driver through, and Matt Pearce is up into 13th position once more. Dan Mould trying to close down on Gordon Haig, still at the front of this one, as Carl Hardy just slowly falling off the rear end of Thomas Coombe is allowing Daniel Downing to close up. But Daniel Downing is not closing up towards Haig and Mould in this one. A podium could be on with the chance in this second race of the day, but possibly not the win. However, Dan Mould is very much looking for a win, starting this one from 9th on the grid. Lewis McCaig seems to have had some issues coming out of the hairpin, and that's why that has happened. He's gone deep into turn number 7 and will rejoin the circuit. Is Dan Mould going to try and make his move to the inside of Le Mans? Yes, he certainly does. He places his car to the inside. There's contact there. Mould is massively sideways. Haig is onto the grass. Haig has the speed here. And here comes Thomas Coombe to push Haig through and try to get past Dan Mould in the fight for the victory here. Coombe will back out of it. Mould to the inside. You knew Mould was going to do it. It is his patented move around Sebring, is to make the move into Le Mans and up towards Le Mans onto the Ullman Straight. As they come across the timing line here, it is still incredibly close here, and if they keep on fighting like that, Daniel Downing will truly have an opportunity to get back involved in the fight. As Matt Pearce gets past Torben Mail in the fight for 11th and 12th position. we keep an eye on for just a moment up here. But JB Deshay and Daniel Lewis once again catching my eye. Once again going side by side. How long can they stay side by side for this time as Lewis is to the inside of Deshay? Deshay carries the speed out of 1 into the kink of 2 there. It'll be the inside for Lewis, but Deshay looking to hold the speed on the outside. Last time we saw them through here, it was Deshay who was on the line that Lewis is now on. But Deshay carries the speed there, and great speed through Big Bend as well for JB Deshay. Back to the lead fight with 8 minutes left on the clock here. Gordon Haig leading the way out the front. Dan Mould in P number 2 with Thomas Coombe behind in 3rd place. We head into turn number... where on earth are we on the circuit here? There was turn number 13 and up towards Bishop there. They just looked to be running Tower a lot quicker. I thought we were at Tower. The speed they carried through Tower was so much faster than I anticipated from that camera angle there that it threw me off just a little bit. Right then, Dan Mould, is he going to stick behind or go for the move? It looks like he is going to stick behind this time as we head on to the Ullman Straight. There's 7.5 minutes left to go in this race. Gordon Haig continuing to lead out front, and Dan Mould chasing in behind. Daniel Downing could go for a move past Carl Hardy very shortly for 4th position as he's looking to find his way back up the order. Of course, winning race number 1 from pole position. Daniel Downing's to the inside of Carl Hardy. Does have some good speed here. Will be side by side with Hardy though as they come across the timing line. Carl Hardy backs behind though, and that's another new paint scheme actually under the banner of Carl Hardy there. Of course, as we focused at the end of practice there and into qualifying of some liveries, it is a new livery out there for Carl Hardy. Is that just a pre-season running, or are we going to see that livery? It looks like we will see that livery into season number 11. Back towards your lead lap fight then, because this is the one that is continuing to fight. It's 6.5 minutes left on the clock here. Gordon Haig goes defensive up towards the hairpin, but gets back onto the racing line. They run through as normal. Right, side by side again, Deshay to the inside of Lewis as they come into turn number 3. Swap around for 4. Into 5, it'll be the inside for Deshay again. Will Lewis be able to get the overlap this time? Well, we'll have to come back and find out a little bit later, because Dan Mould looked to the outside of turn number 10, but has to settle in back behind once more. Daniel Lewis then to the inside of JB Deshay as they come into the hairpin. And it is going to be speed on the outside for Deshay there, but Lewis has not backed out of it. He keeps a nose in here. This happened before, and Deshay was just able to cut across into turn number 10 and keep the position, and it looks like that may be the case. No, it won't, because Lewis gets back to the inside of Deshay, but Deshay carries some huge amount of speed on the outside line there and will remain in 16th position as it stands. Dan Mould, 0.2 of a second off of Haig. Coombe a further 0.6 back. Downing and now has made his way past Carl Hardy. Needs to gain 2 seconds towards the front. He can be hoping that these drivers are going to fight as we head into the final 5 minutes of the race. We'll be looking at the final 3 more laps of the race as they come up towards the timing line. With 2 laps will be 4 minutes 25 there or thereabouts. So yes, we will get 3 more laps of racing action here. And we come through turn number 1 once more with Mould chasing down Gordon Haig for the race victory. Thomas Coombe has shown some great pace here today. And issues there that we found out. We saw that there were issues for Josh Simon in earlier on in the race, and it was issues with headset disconnecting and reconnecting, causing a screen freeze. As in the real world, you get your issues with technical issues, mechanical faults. You can check your technical issues on Sim Racing 2, and it normally comes the way of USBs disconnecting, screens going black, or something getting unplugged. And unfortunately, in this situation, It was a screen freeze that led him out of the race, and he was running up there quite nicely as well, so a real shame for him. Hopefully we'll see you again out there next week in the second of our pre-season events. Dan Mould then on the rear end of Gordon Haig. 4 minutes on the clock right now. 3 more laps, including this one, and Mould, for a moment, looked up the inside of Haig. Was it trying to just get Haig to run a little bit deep into Tower? It didn't quite work out, and he will have to remain behind. Guess who we're going to go back to, because you know and love this fight that's going on. It's JB Deshay and Daniel Lewis still fighting it out. This fight is slowly changing into various positions. It is the fight for 16th and 17th position at the moment. In this one, they are almost 1.5 minutes behind the next driver of Kim Borkland. They have come down pit lane, as has Borkland, the highest of the drivers who have come down pit lane. But they have just been fighting it tooth and nail all race long, and it's been great to see. We head up towards Sunset Bend then, and Dan Mould on a slightly tighter line on Gordon Haig there as they come up towards the timing line. It'll be 2 laps to go here as Haig runs really wide up towards the wall. Dan Mould is going to go to the inside, and there's contact, and they are going to avoid just about Thomas Coombe. Daniel Downing will go through for second. Carl Hardy will make a move for third as Haig and Mould will get a meatball. And there is going to be Mould out of this one. Oh, look how close Thomas Coombe was to that. Absolutely ridiculous. This is on board Dan Mould here. He had the pace. He moved to the left. And that door, it just wasn't a door, was it? And there goes Coombe. Absolutely ridiculous there. Riding on board Thomas Coombe. He sees the accident, moves to the right. Look at that. Oh my word, we have to just watch that one more time. As he moves to the right. Just have a look at how close this was for Thomas Coombe to almost be involved in this lead accident. There's the smoke. And there was Dan Mould. Whoa. You can't get much closer than that at all. Gordon Haig can keep on lapping in this race. He will not get disqualified. He will not get a post-race penalty for this meatball. If he can feel he can go an additional lap, he's got pace out there. He hasn't really backed out of this one. If he feels like he can go an additional lap here, he could still get a top 10. But of course, you do have Hurley, Mouldercleave, and Titchler chasing him down behind. And of course, the last thing he's going to want to do is get them involved in an accident as well. But we head up towards the final turn here. For Gordon Haig. Are we going to see Haig coming down pit lane onto the final lap of asking? Would be a quick stop, of course, just a quick repair and out again. Is he going to keep it tight or is he going to go? He is going to go an additional lap here. Gordon Haig is just going to run to the end. Thomas Coombe takes the white flag in this race. Paul Hurley is battling with Simon Mouldercleave. 5th and 6th position. Mouldercleave goes defensive up towards turn number 1. Hurley has to go the wider line here. They run slightly different lines in towards turn number 1. Hurley carries some good speed though. Looks to go up the inside of turn 3. Once again, Mouldercleave going defensive on that line though. Titchler just behind now, looking to try and get involved in this one as well. Fighting for a top 5 result on the final lap of the day. As Dan Mould falls behind Lewis and Deshay, who are now fighting out for 15th and 16th position in this one, and Lewis is ahead of Deshay in that fight. Covington's just half a second off of Mail. We'll look to see if he can try and do something in that one. Paul Hurley goes really slow into the hairpin though. Titchler gets all over the rear end, but doesn't get to make a move. They are closing up towards Gordon Haig here, but not significantly, I would say. Haig is doing a great job to take that very damaged car out there, which does have a meatball flag on. You can see the front left is incredibly scuffed, but he is able to take the Audi out there, and just for a lap and a half of racing, well, actually 2 laps of racing since he got the meatball flag. It looks like he is going to be able to hold on to 4th position in this one. But Thomas Kuhn, who has been looking to try and find pace. Of course, he was in the amateur class last season. He fought it out for the championship, but it didn't quite make it out that direction. It went the way of Vigard Olsen Lear. But Thomas Kuhn has come strong into the pre-season event of season number 11. Thomas Kuhn comes around the final turn and will take the checkered flag, benefiting from a last late accident from your race leaders. Thomas Kuhn wins. Daniel Downing will get a first in race 1, a second in race 2. Carl Hardy comes across the line behind. Paul Hurley just keeps Titchler at bay as Haig crosses the lane in 4th position. Covington has closed down to Torburn Mail here as they come round the final turn. But Mail will hold on to it. And at the end of the day, it looks like JB Deshay will keep Daniel Lewis at bay off their race-long battle all the way towards the back of the field. And a lap down, of course, it will be Kim Borkland, who will be the last driver to come across the timing line in 14th place. But what a result for this man here. Thomas Kuhn, take a bow, because he had shown some great pace at the front. Even before the accident in front of him, he was showing some excellent speed. He was holding on to 3rd position, just avoided the wreck, of course, that happened in front of him. With that being said then, and with Borkland crossing the timing line to finish the race, let's have a look at our race results from the final race of the day. It was victory in the end for Thomas Kuhn ahead of Daniel Downing in P2. Carl Hardy came across the line in 3rd position. Gordon Haig, even with the meatball, came home in 4th position. Simon Moldecleve came home in 5th ahead of Paul Hurley. Demis Titchler in 7th. Fraser Geraghty came home in 8th place ahead of Mark Draper, and Matt Pearce rounding out your top 10 in your second race of the day. Torburn Mail came home in 11th ahead of Alan Covington. Lewis McCaig came home in 13th. And Kim Borkland, your last driver on your lead lap and the highest driver of those that needed to come down pit lane. Dan Mould came home in 15th. DNFing in the end on the 1 lap to go with him. JB Deshay came home a lap down in 16th ahead of Daniel Lewis after their race-long fight. Out of the race was Joshua Syme, John Brown, Craig Walters, all out very early doors. And of course, we had a lot of cars out on the early lap as well. Chris London and Andy Littler went out on lap 2, but the rest of your field out early doors. Stuart Gibbons, Samuel Spall, Lucas Henschel, Deck Crowther. Not starting. The final race of the day was Jack Brown, Jason Landry, or Adam Delmont. With that being said then, race number 2 is done and dusted, so is our evening, but it is now time to step back into the commentary booth as we are going to prepare for our post-race interviews after the second race of the day. And what a race it was, of course, for our drivers, and they'll be hoping that they can repeat something like that as the season gets going. The first driver that we will head to is going to have to be your race 2 winner. There is no doubt about that. We are going to bring in Thomas Kuhn because he had a great race number 1 to come home in a top 10, taking 10th on the last lap of asking, placing himself on pole for race number 2. It has been an evening that you were probably hoping was round number 1, Thomas.
Yeah, it always seems to happen in the non-championship races that I get decent results. In the middle of last season when we had like a non-championship round, I managed to just about win race 2 in that as well. So I wish these ones would count for points. But yeah, what a ridiculous evening. Race 1, I let go of the handbrake and jumped the start, so I had to do a drive-through. So I sort of had to work my way all the way back through the field to somehow get back to 10th on the last lap. and then obviously that reverse grid pole. I was hoping that the guys that were just behind me would like hold everyone up a bit, but they didn't. And Gordon and Dan got through pretty quick, so I I made a mistake and lost the leader initially. Dan pulled a good move on me as well, and then I just tried to sort of keep behind them in the hope that something happened, and yeah, somehow it did. So, yeah, that was an amazing race, and I'm incredibly happy to win.
Well, I am going to say, once you look at the replay of just how close you were about to be involved in that accident at the front, you will be thanking your stars that you weren't. It was a brilliant victory for you here. And of course, you missed out on the Amateur Class Championship last season. There is very high likelihood you'll find yourself up in the Pro-Ams for season number 11. But you're showing good pace out there at the moment. The Elantra is another strong machine. Do you have confidence for this season? Do you think you picked up a lot last season that you can bring forward into season number 11?
I think so, yeah. The past few months, I've definitely gained a lot of pace compared to where I was before. The Elantra seems to suit how I drive a lot more than the Civic did. I'm not sure if it's just Sebring. I've done a few races here this week and I've had some good results in it. But yeah, I think the Elantra on a fixed setup, it's not as good as the Audi. But in this league, it seems to be a bit more competitive than in the other league that I run on Fridays. So yeah, I hope I can maybe get some top 10s this season when it's the points paying races, and maybe get a few reverse grid podiums if it works out like tonight did. But yeah, I definitely think I'm in a better place going into this season than I was last season.
Wow, a great evening then for you again. It started off in a really bad way, but you managed to work it all the way through and you pulled it out where it counted in race number 2 there to take home a victory. A great job, Thomas, and we look forward to seeing you out on track again in a week's time.
Thank you.
Thomas Coombe there, coming home to take victory in race number 2. In race number 1, however, it was Daniel Downing who found his way to the front. Of course, he managed to come home in second in that one. But we are going to have to jump over to what I think was one of our favourite fights across the course of that second race, because it was JB DJ who was involved in a very great fight with Daniel Lewis all the way through second race. Even though you were battling down there in the bottom end of the top 20, we had to keep on coming back to you. Talk us through your fight with Daniel there.
Oh, Joe. So I had a great launch, and there was a kerfuffle in front of me. I thought I made it past, but obviously I didn't. I had to tow, and that took some time. And so when I came out, I looked at who was around. You know, I just want to race, have some fun. And I saw Daniel was there, and he was waiting. He was waiting for the fast guy. So I waited after the hairpin for him, and we took off. And we just had a fantastic time racing. Coming on the back straight once or twice, I messed up, and so he would take Sunset wide so I could catch up, and then I did the same to him a few times, and we just had a great back and forth, just a ton of fun. I got to thank Dan for that.
It was amazing fun to watch as well every time we came back to you. And you say you were letting each other catch up as well, but when you were fighting, of course, you were side by side for half a lap at some point. So great to witness. You talked about the first lap accident, of course. There was first lap accidents in both of the races. You switched across to the new Audi this season. Of course, you held on to the old Audi at the end of season number 10. How are you finding it out there? Are you feeling strong in this new machine?
I like it. I stay with the old one because I was with it the whole season. You know, you got to dance with the one that brung you. And so I saw the season out in that, and but I took to the new Audi pretty well, and I just think it's so pretty. That's why I want to be in it, to be honest with you. And still learning it, still a lot to learn. Just looking forward to another fantastic season, and I'm looking forward to watching back your broadcast as well.
Wow, it was a great little fight at the back there. Hopefully, we'll see you doing those sorts of fights up inside some good positions across the course of season number 11. It's great to have you back for the season, JB DJ, and in the brand new Audi. We look forward to seeing how you get on.
Thanks, Paul. We'll catch you later, buddy.
And JB DJ there. Again, not the best of results, but what a fight it was. With Daniel Lewis in all of that one. It was a great little fight going on through all of that. And with that being said here, it has been a brilliant evening of racing, and we look forward to what is going to be a brilliant season of competition. We obviously headed around the Sebring International Raceway here today for the first of our pre-season events. We head out to the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace in a week's time for the second of our pre-season events. Of course, that's better known as Interlagos to you and me. It's the first round of competition that will be heading out on the 10th of April in 2 weeks' time. That'll be at the Donington Park Circuit. We hope you can make it for that one. If you're watching over on the SRL TV YouTube channel, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button to watch all of these races live as they come to you. As I am very proud to say here in Joseph White Broadcasting that we have partnered up once again with SRL TV for the whole of season number 11. And of course, if you head over to Joseph White Broadcasting, you can check out all of the race highlights as well. In fact, we will be getting the final highlight video of season number 10 up this weekend, and then we'll be bringing all the highlights for season number 11, so make sure you're going over there subscribing as well. But here from Sebring, it is a good night and goodbye. We hope you have a fantastic week ahead of you, and we look forward to seeing you in a week's time as we head around to Interlagos. But from SRL TV and Joseph White Broadcasting, it is a goodbye. So thanks so much for watching, and goodbye.